The top 3 SEC schools are away from everyone else. It's just that simple. There's the top 3 SEC teams, and then there's college football.
On today's Throwdown Thursday edition of the Odd Coaches Podcast, Dr. Adams and Coach Franchize recap Week 3 games, discuss the latest of off-field college football developments, review Dr. Adams' strictly for entertainment purposes picks, as well as previewing Week 4 of the college football season. Welcome to today's show. The Odd Coaches Podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and with me today is my tag team partner, the Jake the Snake Roberts to my King Kong Bundy in Georgia Championship Wrestling, the original Legion of Doom on TBS, the icon, the showstopper, the main event, and the reason why we are here, Coach Mike Francis. And Coach, how you doing this morning, man?
Doing good. How you doing today?
I am doing well. Just got back from sunny San Diego where it's 75 every day. And that's not hard to get used to, but man, everything else would be. Gas was like $5.70. I'm like, whoa, I don't want that. So when we had $5 gas, what was their gas? So anyway, on today's Throwdown Thursday edition of the Odd Coaches Podcast, in segment 1, we're going to go around the territories and talk about all things college football and things going on. And hopefully we don't get anybody else fired, but we probably will. Segment 2, we're going to talk about some off-field issues and concerns or celebrations in the case of one coach. And then segment 3, strictly for entertainment purposes only. I'll get to brag a little bit and tag my partner on social media a couple of times yesterday, so I'm sure he is going to shake his head when we get to that. Kansas. Anyway, let's go around the territories in the ACC. Mike, Clemson's missing something. What is it? Because it's bothering me. Yes, they won, but it wasn't Clemson. Any thoughts?
I just don't think they're dominant enough on the line anymore. I mean, the thing about Clemson and Georgia and Alabama, when they're dominant on the defensive line, they're usually the top 3 schools dominant on defensive line. They usually got a guy between 6 foot, 6'2", 300 something pounds, and got feet like he 5'11", 145-pound point guard. And they usually get 2 or 3 of those guys, and they can beat you up front, but they don't have that this year. I don't think they're as dominant.
Yeah. Miami is not ready for prime time. Saw them play A&M, and neither is A&M, but 17-9, that's not going to work out for elite. Any thoughts on Miami?
Nah, they're just a little bit away. They're going to be okay, though. They're heading in the right direction.
Okay.
They're going to be okay. Miami's going to be okay. Don't count them out. Don't look at them this year. I'm thinking they bowl ready or nothing like that, but not major bowl. But I like the direction they're going in.
Okay. And last thing for the ACC, unfortunately, for another couple of weeks, we have to follow Pitt because they're undefeated along with a couple of other squads. But I am sure that will take care of itself. And no need for follow-up on Pitt. Well, in the American Conference, Tulane is 3-0 with a big win over Kansas State. And I don't know how big a win it is, but you can't be losing to Tulane if you're Kansas State. That's just not good. Come on, man. You're a Power 5 school. You got all of these resources, and the Green Wave come in and beat you. That's not good. I don't.
Said the Green Wave coming and beat you.
Again, you can't lose to Tulane if you're Kansas State. Okay. And thanks for nothing, SMU. But I'll talk about that segment 3.
Why you on? No, come on, man.
So the spread, let's get there real quickly. The spread was 3.5, which means Maryland can win. But can you win by a field goal? So SMU goes up early in the game that you can't see. And Mike mentioned that before the show. How come you can't see the game? And getting into a back and forth battle with SMU is probably the reason why you can't see the game. But don't worry, Maryland will be on national television next week against Michigan, and you can see them all you want to. So anyway, it's like 27-27 when I get on the airplane. And less than like 5 minutes left. I'm like, all right, Terps, go ahead, kick the field goal, 30-27. You win, I win, we all win. Now they scored a touchdown. So thanks for nothing. But we'll talk about the rest of it. Segment 3. Big Ten. Mike, Ohio State's good. They are. They're a good team. Okay. Can't say they're not a good team. They're a good team. Okay.
I ain't seen them yet, so we'll see.
Michigan has a way to go, but you'll see Michigan next week because they play the Terps. Nebraska fired Scott Frost. Sorry about that, Scott. We were just talking, man. I hope you don't think we did it.
He had to go.
But in the pregame, to Oklahoma, the fans were chanting for Urban Meyer. Mike, if you're an AD at Nebraska who has been irrelevant
You
for over a
cannot bring
decade,
it.
tell me what you think about Urban Meyer.
Man, I can't bring Urban Meyer in there, man. All them co-eds, you see how you get in the ball? You can't do that, man.
You're Nebraska.
I don't care. You see what that dude do? You seen that dude do on that stool? I can't have him around my co-eds like that. Nah, man.
What about Eric Bieniemy?
Yes.
You would call Eric Bieniemy. So
I
wouldn't call Urban Meyer.
No, see, this recycling shit got to stop at some point. Like, we keep getting these guys who are doing the same thing. Like, you remember, he's the same guy that recruited Hernandez and the Pouncey brothers. And, like, there was a lot going on in Florida. A lot going on in Florida. And then he did what he did, didn't fly back with the team. Like that, that's a moral, it got to be some moral clause or some kind of moral somewhere, right?
You're trying to win football games, man.
Yeah, still. Okay, but at a college, I would have to have them. I'm not calling it that.
Nebraska is in need of something, but we're going to move on. Great win for Penn State.
If I'm Nebraska, I go get the Mad Hatter out. They eat all the grass. We used to be at LSU.
I thought Jimbo was the Mad Hatter.
No, the dude who used to eat the grass.
Oh.
From LSU. What was his name?
Gosh, I don't know. 45's not here.
Yeah. Before Bergeron.
Now I'm gonna college football.
Before Bergeron. I think he's a good coach.
Les Miles.
Yeah.
That's the Mad Hatter.
Yeah.
Les Miles is 68.
Yeah.
And
yeah, you need an infusion down there in Nebraska. Nebraska done been every other way trying to get it done. They tried to get in like they was a what's the name of it? Like they was Northwestern, where they went total academic and like, no, man, bring Les Miles in, get you some recruits. Let him run the program for about 4 or 5 years, redirect the program, and then hire someone else. Get a young guy to come in after that.
He didn't do a very good job at Kansas, though, sir.
But it was Kansas, dog.
Hey, don't you say about Kansas.
Yeah, it's Kansas. Yeah, Dorothy. Dorothy was quarterbacking and shit.
All right. Great
and the Wizard, running back, the Wizard of
moving on. Great win for Penn State, but slow down. Many of the commentators last night, after Penn State beat Auburn, not Alabama, started saying, we're trying to tell you that the Big Ten's closing the gap on the SEC, and the SEC is not as dominant as you think it is, because look, we've got Penn State coming into Auburn and beating them something bad. And again, great win going back on the plane. We'll see you later. So, Mike, am I poo-pooing this win, or is the gap closer than we think?
You should not be poo-pooing the win. This is a good win. Shout
Good
out
win.
James.
Good win.
Shout out James Franklin. I texted him on Friday because almost 40% of the teachers in my building went to Penn State.
Yeah.
So they all decided to wear their shirts on Friday. So I took pictures and texted to him. He was like, Mike, tell him thank you for the appreciation. We're working like, man, you know, he's
wonderful.
He's a great guy. But this is a good win. Ain't no gap closed, though. I mean, I would say
there you go.
I would say the bottom tier versus the bottom tier, or the mid tier versus the mid tier, yeah, but not up top. The top 3 SEC schools are away from everyone else. It's just that simple. There's the top 3 SEC teams, and then there's college football.
Well, it's over for Michigan State. You can't lose to Washington, and think I'm going to be okay with that. So I picked Michigan State over Washington, and $90 million mail. He didn't get. I didn't know Washington was good as Washington. That's why still. That's the answer to the question. It's Washington.
See, it's everything out there so unpredictable. Like the weather, you was out there. Come on, you say you can't live anything on the left coast.
It never rains in Southern California.
It never rains. That's what they said.
All right, moving to the Big 12. Oklahoma's going to hang around. Oklahoma State's going to hang around until Bedlam, and then we can get rid of one of them. I just don't know which one it's going to be. Baylor's just good enough to be in the top 25 all year. And, hey, Texas, thank you for the win. And I'll go back to hating you next week.
Sorry, good night.
All right, last week we forgot the HBCUs. We won't ever make that mistake again. So here's some quick hitters. Jackson State beat Grambling.
Who forgot?
Oh, okay. Only around the territories. I forgot. North Carolina A&T had a poor showing against Duke. They got zipped. Hey, by the way, Duke football is undefeated. And Howard played in the inaugural HBCU Classic against Morehouse and scored 31 unanswered points in the second half to beat them. Shout out to OCP team correspondent Akil Russell, who is on the Howard football coaching staff. Thanks for listening to Coach and Coach. So Akil got the gig, Mike.
Congratulations, Akil.
Good for him. All right, group of 5. Southern Illinois beat Northwestern, Mike. Well, you can't lose Southern Illinois. Stop it. Northwestern with $80 million in Big Ten funding. You can't lose the SIU, the Salukis. Well, apparently you can't.
And they did.
App State got the spotlight and almost blew it. Needed a Hail Mary to win. Ain't had that much action in Boone, North Carolina in 15 years, I'm sure.
Didn't they have a game day down there?
They had everybody down there and needed a Hail Mary to win. And Eastern Michigan beat Arizona State. Before the show, fans, I let Mike know ahead of time, hey, I think we might do it again, because every week it seems that if we talk about a coach, the next week they're looking for housing. But what we're going to do in Arizona State with Herm, man, it's been 5 years. They're under investigation. They ain't won nothing. They don't look like they're going anywhere. And their starting quarterback last year is playing for somebody else and playing very well, if I'm not mistaken. Mike, is this it for Herm?
You play to win the game.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
You can't be losing to Eastern Michigan.
Yeah. You done.
Okay.
You done, her.
All right. So the independents. There's only one independent team I'm going to talk about, and we'll tell you why when we get to the Pac-12. Notre Dame got a win, and did you see Jake's comment? So Jake Sharler is our official Notre Dame team correspondent for the Odd Coaches podcast. He's been on the show several times. We love Jake, and we do reach out to Jake for all things Notre Dame. And Jake said, and I quote, wow, well, we just needed a win no matter what it took or looked like.
Yeah, and
so happy for Marcus Freeman. Go Irish. That pretty much sums up Notre Dame versus Cal.
Marcus Freeman.
Ooh, Marcus, man, you
I
needed that win. Don't.
already, I already forgot his name.
Stop that.
I'm the truth.
We're rooting for him. Okay, SEC. Georgia's a bad son of an unnamed goat. Alabama's off punishment next week. They got one more week of punishment after that debacle against Texas.
Why you say that?
Man, you can't. No. You don't need late field goals to beat Texas. You need to beat Texas. Georgia
Texas
wouldn't have
is.
needed a
Oh
late
my
field goal.
God! Oh my God!
Georgia
Texas,
wouldn't needed it.
yeah. Georgia too busy eating up on that SEC talent. Come
But
on, man.
I do want to stop you. How good is Kentucky football, man?
I don't know, but yesterday when I saw that score come across the screen, I was like, damn.
They in the top 10 already. Big win. They're going to move up. And fans, we tape this Sunday morning, so don't, if it goes crazy, it's not our fault. But they're looking good. On the flip side, Arkansas, although they're winning, looks like they have some holes to fill. Arkansas looks like they have some holes to fill. What's the deal with A&M? How can you have all this talent and score 17 points? Miami's defense is not that. I'd see Ed Reed on the other side. But Tennessee's popping. I got to give Tennessee credit. They're popping. They're early season. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They're winning the games they're supposed to win, which makes the games that they have coming up worth something. That's all you want. Just keep winning. And then Florida almost got the whammy by South Florida. And last thing with the SEC, your boy is real quiet this year, which makes me real nervous, and it should make the rest of the country real nervous because Ole Miss got another win and was quiet about it. I think they beat Georgia Tech very comfortably, and nobody started notice. I got to Ole Miss last because everything else got a lot of noise around it, and Ole Miss is just doing his thing quietly. So I'm going to keep an eye on Mr. Kiffin at some point this year with my financial dollars.
Man, please.
What is this a chance for Ole Miss to make some real noise this year? Or
no, the thing is you ain't gonna bet on them. You gonna put your money on Kansas. You ain't gonna take care of my man Lane.
Kansas
you gotta see my man.
Done the thing, baby.
You gotta go see my man Lane Kiffin.
All right.
I had two kids signed with Lane in the last. Two kids I know went to Ole Miss. Lane doing his thing, man.
Yes, he is. He's doing it very well and very quietly this year. That means he's got the talent, man, because usually you're noisy to get attention. He hasn't sought a lot of attention. So, there's going to come a game. There's going to come a Saturday night. He going to get that win, and then he going to cut that promo. And then you're going to be like, oh, boy. And finally, in the Pac-12, is Washington good, Mike? Because they beat Michigan State comfortably. Don't let the score fool you. It wasn't that close.
Why you say that?
It wasn't that close, man. I watched the game on the airplane, and I was watching it for strictly for entertainment purposes, reasons only. And they were throwing on Michigan State. They were running on Michigan State, like running up the middle, 4, 5, 6 yards. I was like, Washington. I was like, is that John Riggins? What is this? Rushing game in the Pac-12? Anyway. USC is going to be the new Utah. In other words, they're undefeated, and until they lose, we got to keep an eye on them. And last but certainly not least, thank you, Oregon, for beating BYU and getting them out of any national conversations for the rest of the season. So I do appreciate your time and your efforts. And we'll be right back on the Out Coaches Podcast.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, "There is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read." Former George Mason standout Fowler Campbell said, "Consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey." Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, "I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes." The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast in segment 2. I can't wait to hear my partner's thought about this. We're going to talk about the price of doing business in this new era of college football. Texas. We're going to start off with Texas. The Texas Longhorn football program isn't holding back in its recruiting visits. When they brought in number 2 quarterback Arch Manning, according to public records obtained by The Athletic, the Longhorns spent nearly $630,000 on 2 recruiting weekends in June, including the June 17th through 19th official visit by Manning and 8 other recruits, which featured 5-star accommodations, virtually all you can eat fare for them and their families. The Manning visit, where almost $280,000 was spent on non-recruits, resulted in 4 commitments so far. Among the highlights of that visit was a full spread in their room at the Four Seasons Austin. By the way, the Austin airport's pretty nice. I was just there yesterday. A photo shoot at DKR Texas Memorial Stadium, a trip to Top Golf. Will loves Top Golf. Multiple lavish meals and a breakfast at the home of Coach Steve Sarkisian. This is pretty standard with Texas, as it spent nearly $350,000 on 14 recruits at a previous visit, and 12 players from that group committed to the Longhorns. So what are your initial thoughts, Mike, about how Texas spends their money? And again, it's their money. It's the cost of doing business.
It's their money. They can do whatever they can do whatever they see fit with their money, right? Is that possible? Like, I think that they should. They should be able to spend the money. You got to get the players, and you're not going to get it if everybody don't have what was his name? Happy from Blue Chips. Happy was passing out houses and cars, and so I mean, just investing in what they have to bring people in, is a good thing. I think it's changing the program around.
Do you think they got a tour of the library, Mike?
I'm sure they did. I'm sure they probably drove by. They got one of them golf carts that's like super long.
Yeah.
Put the recruits and their parents on. They drive by. Oh, this is a library. Then there's our next dorm.
Well, other schools are doing it too, so we're not making fun of Texas fans.
No, not at all.
And Texas doing business. So let's look at
the expectations that already went up because they got that young man. You can see that someone like that, he's going to make more people come because he's there. He's going to bring in the best. This will probably be the best recruiting class in Texas history.
Yeah. So in the 2019 fiscal year, Texas spent $1.2 million. That was the 13th most spending on recruiting that year, of course, which is led by Georgia, spending $3.6 million. Georgia spent $2.7 million on recruiting in 2020, and that was due to COVID. So even in a COVID year, they spent $2.7 million on recruiting.
What didn't even pay?
They didn't even play.
That's wild.
The increase in spending for recruiting is not unusual to see. The Orlando Sentinel reported in July that the University of Florida increased its football recruiting spending by $4.72 million. I'm sorry. The 4.72 was for football, with 700,000 going additionally to recruiting. That's a 55% increase, which gave Billy Napier close to a $2 million budget for recruiting. And it does not include Napier's access to 2 private jets with a budget of $839,000. So again, we titled that part of the segment "The Cost of Doing Business." That's just the cost of doing business. Um, how's it working out for A&M? But anyway, I digress. FBS football update. So, fans, the FBS is the Football Bowl subdivision. It's where all the money is. And a recent report by Lead One, which is the athletic directors kind of group, the overwhelming majority of Division One athletic directors expressed a strong preference to keep FBS under the NCAA. So with all of the hubbub, with all the playoffs, with all the money coming in, they still don't want the responsibility of running it.
Mm-hmm.
That is what's caused pause, okay?
Mm-hmm.
FBS football is currently the only collegiate sport that's governed by the NCAA, but runs its own national championship through the college football playoff. So they basically, in the old saying, is they get to have their cake and eat it too.
Big
So
time.
when all of this noise came out about we should do this and that, when it comes time to the brass tacks of actually organizing all of it and holding everybody accountable, once you take it over,
Nobody.
you do your discipline as well. And they were like, nah. So by a show of hands in the room with 105 ADs, and some of them were on Zoom or video conference, they were like, nah, let's try to work out something. So thought you would find that interesting because many people suggest they should be their own separate entity. So with that, Tennessee is investing in Josh Heupel. Okay, Josh Heupel has received a contract extension and a $1 million raise that will take his salary to $5 million a year in the SEC. So he has guided the Bulls to a 3-0 start, good ranking in the AP poll. His buyout is $8 million if he leaves for another job before the end of 2023, and it drops $2 million after that. He still remains one of the lowest paid head coaches in the SEC. He's getting $5 million a year, and it's like, yeah, well, whatever. So let me tell you who else is getting the short end of the stick. Missouri's coach is getting $4 million. Shane Beamer in South Carolina is getting $2.75 million. And Vanderbilt's a private institution, doesn't release his coach's salaries, but the guy's making about $3.75 million.
They're a private institution. What?
Yes, you do not have to release your data if you're a private institution. Another private institution is Duke, and I don't think ever released what Coach K was actually making because they're private, not public. So when Josh was hired, he became the fourth coach in 10 years in Tennessee. The Vols hadn't won more than 8 games. So he's doing his thing, got him back into conversations. And they also beefed up the salaries of his coaching assistants. OC Alex Goshen is getting the biggest raise, going from $750,000 to $1.2 million. Mike, you sure you want to get out of coaching?
I don't know. It depends.
Last thing, what's in a name? Maryland football will have a new name for its stadium
Yes,
beginning next month. The athletic department announced this past week a partnership with SECU, a state chartered credit union, which includes renaming the venue SECU Stadium starting October 1st. It's currently called Capital One Field at Maryland Stadium. So I believe it's pronounced CU because I don't have that same.
It's CQ.
It's CQ.
State Employees Credit Union.
Yes. So CQ is set to pay Maryland Athletics $11 million guaranteed, including a $2.5 million gift supporting programs and facilities, which includes the construction of a basketball performance center. And the partnership is expected to last 10 years. The school said Capital One and Maryland Athletics mutually agreed to end their current agreement. Mike, any thoughts on Maryland changing the name of the stadium again and getting a little cash to do
it? I think it's, getting rid of Bird is the thing I like about that.
They did that with the Capital One team.
Yeah, I like that. That's the start. So, just and then Capital One being, I don't know, I guess they was trying to trying to spend money at that time and get really, really heavily involved in sports. I never really took to the Capital One thing, but this makes sense. State employees credit union, everyone, a lot of people who are ticket holders and things like that, I know are state employees. You can get involved in that, and the alumni would definitely, they will remember that for sure. And if you're a state school, how not have the state employees credit union? Like, I think it's a win-win all the way around. Very smart play.
Well, I like the fact that they're going to get their separate basketball facility as well. That opens up a lot of opportunities for them.
Right.
New coaching staff, and because the indoor football facility is very nice. It is a very nice facility. You can practice year round, and I've had a chance to go there a few times. They've upgraded the weight room. They've upgraded the nutrition, and as I have joked with you. Man, they're building all over College Park. So somebody's got some money. And as somebody who's moving just a little bit closer to the campus.
Yeah. Can't hurt, right?
Can't hurt. So property value, getting ready for Florida. And with that, we'll come back and talk about things strictly for entertainment purposes only on the Odd Coaches Podcast.
There is an old business adage that says, what gets measured and monitored gets done. It is also fact that deadlines spur action. That is what the CKA Save Project academic monitoring service can do for student athletes. Measure and monitor their academic progress to improve their grades. Our academic monitoring services provide ongoing academic support for student athletes for a designated period of time. Our academic success coaches work with student athletes on time management and organizational skills, along with improving their ability to self-advocate. Every few weeks, our academic success coaches meet with student athletes to assess their academic progress, as well as provide ongoing academic advising. If needed, student athletes have access to CKA Learning Specialists who provide virtual core subject academic support for student athletes. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free virtual consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast. In segment 3, we're going to talk about things strictly for entertainment purposes only. My partner is very honest with me, and that's why I love this dude, man. And we'll actually talk about that at the end of this segment, so you'll get to say that for everyone. So the OCP Top 5, as we tell you fans, we're only caring about the college football playoffs because my partner says if you ain't talking about winning a championship, then we don't need to talk about it. Georgia's still number 1, as they should be. Ohio State is number 2 for another week. Then Alabama will return to number 2. They'll be off punishment after that disgusting display at Texas. So Alabama's 3, Clemson's 4. Mike said something to me in passing on the show last week, and I watched Clemson, and he was right. There's just something about them. They're going to win. They're going to do well, but they're not elite, man. They're ACC elite, but I don't know what's going to happen if they play somebody else. Oklahoma's 5. They beat up Nebraska, and okay, whatever. USC still undefeated until they play somebody, so okay. Michigan will hang around, and they'll be undefeated until they play somebody. Maybe the Terps will pull the upset. Stop it. Okay. All right. And then again, Oklahoma State until Bedlam. So that's the top 5. But let's get to the picks, baby. Last week I was 2-3, dropped 1180. This week I was 3-2. And I am plus $9.55, baby. $9.55. Is that how we do it is that how hard to do it at the club? With $9.55. I'm glad you're on mute because that probably would have been inappropriate. So overall,
I didn't say anything wrong.
So overall on the season, I am 7-8, 46%, and I am only down $14.05. So let's talk about the picks that I made. I picked SMU in the spread, which is 3.5. Didn't work out for me. So on the season, I am 2-1 against the spread. The over-under, I did Kansas and Houston over 56.5. And let's just say the no defense playing Big 12 came through again. So Kansas beat Houston, believe it or not, scored over 56.5. So I am 3-0 over-under this year. These are real numbers, fans. So again, as the year goes on, hey, we are informative and entertaining. The 2-play finally came through for me, NC State to Texas. So I am 1-2. My 3-play finally came in. I got Georgia, Oklahoma, and Oregon. And the money line play, which I thought was the coolest play of the week. Michigan State, 11th ranked in the country as an underdog to a Pac-12 school. Put my $10 down. Man.
That didn't work, did it?
Didn't work for me. So, any thoughts before we move to next week, sir? Because you know I'm locked into this. I text you every time I'm at the casino, and you laugh at me every time.
No.
All right, week 4 games to watch. Florida, Tennessee. I want to watch that, and I'm leaning towards Tennessee because Florida. This is going to be good. It's going to be good. I don't know if I'm going to put 10 down, but this is going to be a good game. Any thoughts on Florida, Tennessee?
I'd like to see that game. I'll take Tennessee.
Maryland. I believe they're going to the big house to take on the Wolverines. And finally, my partner gets to see Maryland on national television. Can the tongue of a lawyer kid? Okay.
I didn't see him this week. I know the first week he was forcing a lot. Second week he did better. I didn't get to see if he made any progression this week, but if he plays well enough, Maryland will have a chance because I think they're okay everywhere. Maybe secondary's a little could improve. Maybe they made some adjustments. Those are the biggest 2 takeaways I had from week 1. So I'm hoping the secondary improves and then quarterback improves and they have a chance. I'm still rooting for Maryland.
We got an ACC battle this week coming up in week 4. Clemson against Wake Forest. We'll finally see if Clemson can run Wake Forest like they have in the past. Wake Forest almost dropped 1 too. So these are 2 of the top tier.
ACC
Actually, they
schools.
are ACC schools.
All right, cool.
All right.
Next game.
We're not talking basketball, but Duke and Kansas are undefeated in football. Duke is traveling to Kansas. Kansas has already done what I need Kansas to do. So the rest of the year, it's on them. Good luck to them. But Duke and Kansas football are both undefeated. So anybody winning that one?
Whatever, dude.
All right. Notre Dame against North Carolina. North Carolina is undefeated in football. Notre Dame is going to go to North Carolina. And Mike, as I've told you, North Carolina treated us right. It's a beautiful place. They've got good gimmicks for, their stadium. The drink prices and the hot dog prices are reasonable.
Did you have to say gimmicks?
With the fans and what they do, that like on first down, what they do, and they still play Rock and Roll Part 2 though. I thought everybody stopped playing that, but I'm going to let that go. You can't play even Maryland stopped playing Rock and Roll Part 2. No one cares? My wife said the same thing. You're looking at me saying no one cares about what that dude has done to people. Okay, maybe it's just me. All right, I'm going to move on.
She's right. You're late. She's very smart. You need to keep this one.
No one cares. Stop. I'm running from that one. Okay. Arkansas is playing Texas A&M. That is the last game to watch. Arkansas is missing a little something. So let's pay attention to that. You will see our picks fans Saturday morning on our Twitter page, and hopefully you follow it. As we close, we do our season-long totals. Alabama over 11.5. They got 3 wins. Keep going. Georgia over 11, 3 wins. Houston over 9.5. This is not looking good for me, Mike.
Why?
They're losing, man. Listen, Kansas over
You
2.5.
expect them to win. That's the problem.
That was my fault. Kansas has already won the over. They have gotten their third victory. I should have taken Vanderbilt too, because Vanderbilt's got 3 wins too. NC State over 8.5. They're on their way. 3 wins. Nebraska under 7.5. I didn't know Scott was going to get fired, but they're well on their way to getting less than 8 wins. Notre Dame finally got a win and off the schneid, so they've got to go on a run to get to the 8.5. Penn State is over 8.5. Looks like a good bet, Mike, because they got 3 wins already, and one of those wins, good SEC win. Texas is under 8.5. They got 2 wins. Texas A&M under 8.5, 2 wins. You told me not to do this one, but I did it anyway. South Carolina over 6.5, still hanging at that 1 win. Utah over 9, they got their second win. Clemson over 10.5, 3, and Ohio State over 11 wins, they got 3. So, any final thoughts before we close out this Throwdown Thursday edition? And it's always good to be with you, sir.
Oh, man, it was great to be with you again, be able to get here. Final thoughts, keep your eye out on Kentucky. I told you that last year. I think they're going to make that next step, because they're in the toughest conference possible. But I like Kentucky. I like hoping Maryland's quarterback does improve and will be, those are two major things I'm looking at. I'm going to be watching for. If I ever get to see the game, hopefully they'll replay it today. You know what I mean? Maybe I should call Max Locke if he can,
send you the coach's film.
Yeah, send me the coach's
like on
cut.
NFL, Sunday morning show where they watch the coach's film.
I need to watch the coach's cut.
All right. So on behalf of my tag team partner, Coach Mike Francis, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Eye Coaches podcast, and we will see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchize, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches Podcast.